We're getting towards the end of the wilderness wandering. They're making their way towards the promised land. They wanted to go through Edom in the previous chapter to get there, to take the direct route, but they were denied entry. So now they need to go another way, to go around Edom and enter into the promised land. Well, at least that is the goal or the plan or the intent that we see right here. Numbers 21:1. When the Canaanite king of Arad, who dwelt in the south, the Negeb, heard that Israel was coming by the way of Atharim, the route traveled by the spies sent out by Moses, he fought against Israel and took some of them captive. Israel is no longer hiding in the shadows. They are making their progressive journey towards the promised land. And here we have them doing battle with the Canaanites. The Canaanites found out they were in the area and they came to do battle with them. The Canaanites, they didn't like that Israel was sending spies into the land. And even though this was decades ago when that event occurred, it still upset them. They didn't want the Israelites to possess the land. They didn't want them taking their territory from them. So this is a preemptive strike by the Canaanites against Israel. They weren't able to overwhelm the Israelites, so they fled afterwards. But they took some hostages or some prisoners with them. When it's talking about this king of Arad, it means the Arad region, that this king is a leader of either a city of Arad or an Arad region, not that the king's name is Arad. So it is an unnamed king here. Numbers 21:2. And Israel vowed a vow to the Lord and said, if you will indeed deliver this people into my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. 21:3. And the Lord hearkened to Israel and gave over the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities. And the name of the place was called Hormah, a band or devoted thing. The Israelites were not very experienced in war or combat. They have been wandering the wilderness for the previous decades, and before that they were slaves in Egypt. So they were not people of war. But now they are faced with war and they need help, they need assistance. So they are making a vow to the Lord that if the Lord gives them strength to win these battles, to deliver them from their enemies here, that they will destroy them utterly. Destroy the cities, destroy the people, remove them from existence. We see that the Lord accepts this vow, and they do just that. They go in there and they destroy them. There's some wordplay that is going on here with this name that we see, this Hormah, and it looks to be a bit of a reference to the utterly destroy aspect. For a little bit of clarification, Israel gets attacked by the Canaanites. They make a vow to the Lord to get the strength to defeat the Canaanites. Then at some point in the future, they actually defeat the Canaanites. That doesn't mean that it happened immediately after they made this vow, because they still need to go on their journey. They need to get to the promised land before they can remove these people in that location. It was not an immediate thing. It's a historical document, and it's making a reference that this indeed happened, that they did go there and they did fulfill the vow that they made to the Lord, as we'll see down the road. The alternative to this would be that they destroyed them, and then when they eventually got into the promised land, they had to destroy them again because they rebuilt. Numbers 21:4. And they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way to the Red Sea, to go around the land of Edom. And the people became impatient, depressed, much discouraged, because of the trials of the way. 21:5. And the people spoke against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and we loathe this light, contemptible, unsubstantial manna. So the Israelites have been on quite the journey, and they're getting a lot closer to their destination. But they're taking the scenic route. It's a long journey, longer than the direct route through Edom. And the people, they're getting tired of this. A lot of the old people, they will have died by now. So this is going to be a new generation of younger people here, that all they have known is the wilderness wandering. The complaints are not all that different than we have seen previously. The complaint that they left Egypt to die in the wilderness, that's just an elaborate ruse, something that Moses concocted, although it's not specifically stating that they're blaming him this time, but that did happen in the past. We see that there is no bread. They're looking for a variety of food. They want something different. They're tired of eating the same thing over and over again. The water supply is not as consistent as they would like. As they're wandering, there's probably locations that have water and others that don't. So they have to haul water, and it's not always the most available thing when they need it or want it the most. And they're tired of manna. Manna, of course, is the bread that the Lord provided for them. It was like a flour that came from the sky. They'd collect it, and they would bake cakes out of it. But seeing as that's most of what they have been eating for the last nearly 40 years, they're getting pretty tired of it. They've had enough manna. They want some variety, something else, regular bread. As we've seen before, this is a cycle where the people, they're good, they're happy, and as time goes on, they start to complain and murmur and find fault with everything. Then the Lord intervenes. Then the people are fine again for a while. And then the cycle continues. They start complaining, the Lord intervenes, then they're okay. Then they start complaining, and so on and so forth. So we'll see what the Lord decides to do this time. It seems every time he intervenes with the people, he does something new and different. Numbers 21:6. Then the Lord sent fiery, burning serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and many Israelites died. So here we have the Lord judging the people again for their murmuring, their complaining, their impatience. He sent snakes on them. Fiery serpents. So the fiery serpents are likely venomous snakes, and the venom of the snake, it's not fast acting that it kills them the second it bites them, that there is a delay involved. So people are bitten by the snake, and then they have a limited duration before they expire. I don't have any first-hand experience with snake bites, but I imagine the way this is described as fiery, that the pain from these bites are probably tremendous. Numbers 21:7. And the people came to Moses and said, We have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord that he may take away the serpents from us. So Moses prayed for the people. So the people were able to recognize that this was a judgment from the Lord, and they were able to recognize their own sin, knowing that it was their murmuring and their complaining. For we have seen events like this happen in the past, and they probably heard story from their parents or their older siblings of some of these judgments that occurred in the past, and they were able to recognize that they were doing the same thing as them. And so they're calling out to Moses, getting Moses to intercede on their behalf, praying to the Lord to end this. Numbers 21:8. And the Lord said to Moses, Make a fiery serpent of bronze, and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten, when he looks at it, shall live. 21:9. And Moses made a serpent of bronze, and put it on a pole. And if the serpent had bit any man, when he looked to the serpent of bronze, attentively, expectantly, with a steady and absorbing gaze, he lived. So here we have the solution. God has instructed Moses to make this serpent and put it on a pole, and Moses did just that. So the people, when they are bitten by a snake, they can look towards this brass serpent and be healed of the venom and continue on with their lives. The thing that's interesting about this is that they have to willingly and choose to look at that serpent to have that saving property. In the same way that we see Christ in the New Testament, when he died for the sins of the world and provided salvation to the world, that people have to choose to accept that. So there's some metaphors in there with this serpent being similar to Christ and the salvation, that it has to be willingly accepted to receive it. This serpent here is quite fascinating. The symbol for medicine uses a serpent coiled up a rod or a pole, and that is a reference to this event here. Now this is not to be mistaken for the caduceus, which is the two snakes on the pole, which is another symbol that many doctors use, and it is a reference to Hermes, the Greek god of thieves and merchants. We're going to see this bronze serpent show up in a future book in the Old Testament, because people begin to worship this serpent like it is a deity, and it becomes an idol, so it needs to be destroyed. And I think that's part of the reason why we don't really see an event like this occur again. Numbers 21:10. And the Israelites journeyed on and encamped at Obath. 21:11. They journeyed from Obath and encamped at Abrim in the wilderness opposite Moab toward the sunrise. 21:12. From there they journeyed and encamped in the valley of Zered. 21:13. From there they journeyed and encamped on the other side of the river Arnon, which is in the desert or wilderness that extends from the frontier of the Amorites. For the river Arnon is the boundary of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites. 21:14. That is why it is said in the book of the wars of the Lord, Waheb in Supah, and the valley of the branches of the Arnon River. So we don't know anything about this book of the wars of the Lord. Some suggest that it may have been a collection of songs that occurred during this time that they were singing of the events as they occurred, and it was just never written down. Although that's just conjecture, we really don't know what it is about. But whatever it was about, this time or this place that we see happening right here is referenced in this book of the wars of the Lord. So they're on the home stretch. They're getting closer to the promised land. Numbers 21:15. And the slope of the valleys that stretch toward the site of Ar and find support on the border of Moab. 21:16. From there the Israelites went on to Beer, a well, the well of which the Lord had said to Moses, assemble the people together, and I will give them water. 21:17. Then Israel sang this song, spring up, O well, let all sing to it. 21:18. The fountain that the princes opened, that the nobles of the people hollowed out from their staves, and from the wilderness or desert Israel journeyed to Mattanah. So here we see an event in which the Lord provided water to the people. From the sounds of this, the Lord knew where the water was, and he gave instruction to Moses on where to get this water. And by this song the people are singing, we see that it was the princes digging this well. So the leaders of the people of Israel coming together to dig this well to provide water for the people under the direction of the Lord. So this was probably a pretty exciting and happy event to see these people of authority digging with their walking sticks and their rods and their scepters. Numbers 21:19. And from Mattanah to Nahaliel, and from Nahaliel to Bamoth. 21:20. And from Bamoth to the valley that is in the field of Moab, to the top of Pisgah, which looks down upon Jeshimon and the desert. 21:21. And Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying. So we're getting closer, and they're sending out messengers. Let's see what message they're sending and how it will be received. Numbers 21:22. Let me pass through your land. We will not turn aside into your field or vineyard. We will not drink the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway until we have passed your border. The messengers who have been sent out are asking for the same thing that was asked of Edom in the previous chapter. Entry to cross through the land. Access to the land to get through to the other side. Edom didn't respond very favorably to that, and they threatened them with war. We'll see if these Amorites do the same thing. Numbers 21:23. But Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his border. Instead, Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel into the wilderness and came to Jahaz, and he fought against Israel. So not only is Sihon rejecting their passage into the land, he is going out with his people to attack the Israelites in the wilderness. Typically, it's much easier to defend than it is to attack. So by him coming out towards Israel, he is in a vulnerable position. Whereas the Israelites can fortify themselves. Numbers 21:24. And Israel smote the king of the Amorites with the edge of the sword, and possessed his land from the river Arnon to the river Jabbok, as far as the Ammonites, for the boundary of the Ammonites was strong. 21:25. And Israel took all these cities, and dwelt in the city of the Amorites, in Heshbon, and all its towns. Unprovoked, Sihon, the king of the Amorites, attacks Israel and is defeated. The Israelites take this opportunity and possess the land that Sihon possessed, and it describes the boundaries right here. Numbers 21:26. For Heshbon was the city of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab, and taken all his land out of his hand, as far as the river Arnon. 21:27. That is why those who sing ballads say, Come to Heshbon, let the city of Sihon be built and established. So Israel took possession of a city that was previously conquered. This is one of those ancient cities that has a lot of character, and it's been around for a while. And we're going to see this poem here explain some things. Numbers 21:28. For fire has gone out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It has devoured Ar of Moab, and the lords of the heights of the Arnon. 21:29. Woe to you, Moab! You are undone. O people of the god Chemosh, Moab has given his sons as fugitives and his daughters into captivity to Sihon, king of the Amorites. 21:30. We have shot them down. Heshbon has perished as far as Dibon, and we have laid them waste as far as Nopah, which reaches to Medeba. So we have a poem here describing how Shinon conquered this land from Moab. It appears that it was conquered with fire. They went in there, they destroyed a whole bunch of stuff, and then they were able to take it over. It was probably a very big, tremendous event, and is here for historical purposes. Numbers 21:31. Thus Israel dwelt in the land of the Amorites. 21:32. And Moses sent to spy out Jazer, and they took its villages and deposed the Amorites who were there. So Israel now has claimed some territory, and they sent out some spies, and the spies managed to capture another city. So likely they were all scattered after the big defeat that just occurred when Shion attacked Israel. Numbers 21:33. Then they turned and went up by the way of Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, went out against them, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. 21:34. But the Lord said to Moses, do not fear him, for I have delivered him and all his people and his land into your hand, and you shall do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon. There are many hostile groups in this area. So everywhere that Israel goes, they encounter enemies, and they continue on their journey. But now they have to do battle with Og, the king of Bashan, and the Lord is with them, so they'll be okay. He is going to deliver them from the hands of their enemies. Numbers 21:35. So the Israelites slew Og and his sons and all his people, until there was not one left alive, and they possessed his land. So the Israelites have won another battle. They have defeated Og, and they slayed them all, and they took possession of the territory. Now, when you read this section here, when it talks about not one left alive, that may seem incredibly cruel, but it was necessary. We're going to see in later chapters and in later books that there are times when God orders the elimination of some of these groups, and the Israelites failed to do so. And that group of people, even though there was only a small remnant alive, they build up again, and they fight with the Israelites and cause problems throughout many different generations.